The Plucky Squire, released on September 17, 2024, is a visually beautiful game. From the first time I saw the trailer of the main character Jot jumping out of the storybook and into the three-dimensional space, I was intrigued. It really looked like my style of game. It looked like a top-down puzzle adventure game mixed with 3D platforming, and while the game absolutely delivered on that, I constantly felt like the game was holding me back as I tried turning the page. First off, I absolutely adored the concept of the game. I think visually, it's fantastic. The 2D aspects were great with bright and vibrant colors, and the transition to the 3D aspects was amazing to experience. Going from a top-down view to running around a 3D space in mere moments was a really enjoyable gameplay mechanic and is this game's bread and butter. Needing to change dimensions to solve puzzles or to move the story forward in the other dimension worked extremely well. In fact, I don't have any issues at all about how the game looked or worked when it came to the visuals. I think it's a game that can be visually appealing to all types of players. The 3D areas were a ton of fun in my opinion. I loved seeing how the area had changed throughout the game, and because there were no pages being flipped, there was a lot less dialogue in those moments, which really helped give me the feeling that I was going on an adventure into the unknown. How is the layout of the desk different this time? What type of enemies was I going to encounter, and what new ability might I gain? Granted, I was hoping for a larger area to run around in. I was hoping to be able to travel to different locations within the house. While that wasn't the case, the ever-changing layout of the desk kept the 3D area from ever feeling stale or repetitive. As for the story, it was extremely well told. The narration really helped give the game the feeling of being a storybook instead of just any other adventure game. It helped the game stand out that this is both a story being told to the player as well as experienced by the player simultaneously. The story itself, while simple, is interesting enough and gives a great reason as to why the character Jot can leap off the pages of the storybook and interact with the outside world. My issue with the story is the dialogue. The dialogue slowed the game down to an absolute crawl at moments. Far too many times I would sit through multiple lines of dialogue only to regain control of the game, take 5 steps, and start more dialogue. This is one of the most aggravating design choices in my opinion. Taking control away from the player is something that really frustrates me. It felt like there were red lights and stop signs stopping me along the way at every moment. Obviously, I'm not saying there should be no dialogue. That would be pretty absurd for a storybook game, but it really destroyed the pacing. As for the dialogue itself, the plot-driven dialogue worked really well. The character development dialogue worked really well, but the puzzle dialogue was incredibly frustrating. Even into the late game puzzles, whenever a new puzzle would present itself, characters would hint at what to do before I, as the player, would even get an opportunity to look around and try to figure it out for myself. The game would turn to a new page and a character would blurt out, "Maybe you need to search in the other dimension for a clue," or something along those lines, before I could even tell what type of puzzle it was going to be. It made the game not only feel too easy, but like it didn't trust me to be able to solve it on my own, all while having an in-game character specifically designed to give you another hint if you were struggling, which I'm totally fine with, but don't force feed me part of the solution if there's going to be an in-game hint mechanic that I can choose to interact with. Mechanically, the game tries to do quite a lot. It's a top-down puzzle adventure game. It's a 3D platforming adventure game. Both of those combined make for a really fun experience, and scattered throughout the game is their take on a multitude of different gaming genres. There's a punch-out segment, a rhythm segment, a side-scrolling segment, among many others, and honestly, most of these segments weren't nearly as refined as the 2 main aspects of the game. Of course, they're only present for a small amount of time, so naturally, the top-down view and the 3D platforming is where they perfected the gameplay, which made these other segments feel noticeably unpolished. Now, I don't have an issue with the game wanting to incorporate multiple different mechanics, but it's possible they tried to force in one too many instead of putting a bit more meat on the bones of the ones they already added in. As for the regular combat, it was rather simple, but quite enjoyable. Using the sword, you can slice your way through the enemies or throw and retrieve it just like Thor's hammer or Kratos' axe. But along with the swordplay, you gain different abilities in the 3-dimensional space that can affect the 2-dimensional playing area. This can be to take out enemies in combat or to solve different puzzles, and I thought it was one of the more interesting aspects that I wished had a bit more variety. I don't want to spoil all of it, but you can actually manipulate the book itself, and I would have loved to be able to do things like tilt the book so that the enemies in the book would fly off the side of the page, or maybe place something in a random location which could distract the enemies so you could sneak by or attack them from behind, among many other ideas. Maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part, or something they could incorporate into a potential sequel. I just felt like there was a really intriguing mechanic that wasn't fully utilized. Throughout my playthrough, I had one major glitch. I was trying to solve a puzzle that included a stone and moving a platform that was on a mining cart type track. I needed to try to figure out how to get the platform to stop in a very specific spot, and while using some of the abilities, I somehow managed to get the stone to float up and never come back down, making it completely inaccessible. Considering I now know the solution, I realized how ridiculous of a thought it was, but originally I thought that if I had the stone on the platform, it would become heavier and therefore not go as far, thus stopping at the spot I wanted it to. But by trying that, it confused the game and the stone just kind of floated away. Luckily, it was a relatively simple solution of just loading a previous autosave. As for the rest of my experience, it was completely flawless. No major frame drops, no other glitches or issues, so aside from that one easily solvable glitch, the game worked perfectly fine. Visually, the game is beautiful and it can be enjoyed by younger or older audiences. The combat, as well as the story, are both rather simple, and the puzzles aren't overly complex, especially with the hand-holdy feeling from the dialogue, which makes me believe that the target audience is a younger demographic. However, the references to the other genres made me feel like an older audience who would actually appreciate the variety of mechanics is who they were actually making this game for. And if that's the case, then they're going to be the ones who get frustrated by the stop and start hand-holding nature of the majority of the game. At the end of the day, did I enjoy my time with the game? Yes, absolutely, especially the first couple of hours. Experiencing the top-down aspects and transitioning to the 3D aspects was extremely fun and interesting, but as the game went on and the pace of the game never really picked up, it started to feel like the game didn't think I understood the mechanics and needed to babysit me the entire way through. And after roughly 8 hours of gameplay, it really started to frustrate me that I kept feeling like the game wouldn't let me move forward without being stopped and interrupted again and again. If you decide to give the game a try, you will absolutely find aspects of this game to enjoy. Maybe it's the visuals, maybe it's the variety in gameplay, but if you're anything like me and hate the feeling of constant interruptions, then be warned that the pace of the game in the first hour or so maintains throughout the vast majority of it. And there we have it, my review of the Plucky Squire. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up, and please don't forget to subscribe. It really helps out a lot. If you want to check out my thoughts on a fully 3D platforming game, then be sure to click right here.